are regularly tracking and measuring your calories and it's working for you, you might be something like a unicorn in a human form. My name is Paolo, and today I'll explain you what calories are, how they are measured scientifically, how the food is determined to have certain amount of calories and so on, why it's not giving us a complete picture, what are the challenges, and what are the other factors we need to look at when we want to lose weight, gain weight, or just overall maintain our body composition. First of all, calorie is a unit of energy, and calorie is defined as an amount of energy that is needed to heat 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. We are talking about calories that we are tracking in our food. We are actually talking about kilocalories. Yeah, we have grams, kilograms, 1,000 grams. Calorie, kilocalorie, 1,000 calories. For this little bit of a inconsistency, the calories in food are also referred to as a food calories, but if somebody says I ate certain amount of calories, they are actually referring to kilocalories, but this is just the technicality. Now, pretty important technicality though. Now, if we take the original method of determining how much calories is in certain food, it basically looked like it was a sealed container and they literally burned that amount of food in the container and they were measuring the release of the energy in form of heat, and that was determining how many calories that given food has. Eventually, an improvement came into this method where they realized, which is on the first sight kind of pretty obvious, that as we don't have heat pits or some kind of ovens in our stomach, determining the calories based on how they burn and then how they are digested in a human system is very different. And now that's the tricky part for the whole determining the amount of calories in the food, because they deduct certain amount of the calories from the first total value based on inefficiency of human digestion, some of it we just release, feces, urine, so on. But this determining this whole idea of okay, so we deduct this amount from this food and this amount from this food is done on averages and on a kind of general population estimates, which means that from person to person there's no adjustment, and even scientists, what you see on the labels, they cannot claim and they don't claim that that's precise. So there is a lot of deviations from the optimal, and if you think you ate 200 calories of something or 500 calories of something else, that might not actually be true, and it's really raw estimates on the level of what is on the label. And then another factor is how is that digested by you. Now, why it can work and why sometimes the calorie counting in and out, when it's so vague for most of the time, how come it can work for some people? Well, when we look at the trends for who works for and who it's not working for, we'll find out that people who tend to be more extremist tend to have better results with calorie counting. So let's say my basal metabolism is 1,800 kilocalories and I want to gain weight. Well, if I will do 200 or 150 calorie surplus and I will count everything exactly, I might not have any result with that. Or if there is somebody who wants to lose weight and they starting on a baseline of their basal metabolic need of 1500 kilocalories, and they go into a calorie deficit of 200 kilocalories, there is a high chance it just won't work. Why? Because the amounts they are actually eating are not really the 1300. It is probably a little bit more, or at some cases, at some occasions, maybe a little bit less. So it's very inconsistent. But if somebody with a need of 1800 calories wants to gain, and they will start to eat 2500 or 2800, well, the surplus is so big that it is more likely to really overshoot that calories, in a sense that they will actually start to gain weight. Also, same way, if the reduction from some lady who might have 1500 kilocalorie baseline, she wants to go down. If she goes to 1000, she's probably also not hitting 1000 on the given day, even if she is following everything precisely, because the labels and everything, all the data we are getting is just not precise. She's not hitting it. But because the deficit is so far from her baseline, it is actually working and she will be eventually losing the weight. So that's why if the adjustments are lower, 100, 200 kilocalories, it is very much unlikely to work correctly for most of the people. You might hit the sweet spot and it will work for you, but you never know until you try. But if we go to the extreme and people who wants to gain really overeat and people who wants to lose really go to a strong calorie deficit, then there is a higher likeliness that they will actually be in that surplus or actually be in that deficit. And now this is leading us to a different problem, and that is individual digestion. We know, and this is proven by many researchers and many scientists, that interactions between foods are making a difference. So if you have certain foods and you eat them together, the digestion will be different than if you eat that food with something else. And this is happening to everybody, and this is happening across, and those interactions are practically impossible to track. We just know that there is inconsistency in certain foods if they are ate with something else than with another ones. That's one big problem that we are dealing with, that we don't actually know how much is digested based on interactions of the foods, because they might have some enzymes, let's say, I'm now making it up, some nuts or seeds will have certain enzymes that will block the digestion, or on the other side maybe boost the digestion of some protein you eat with it. And you don't know that because there is not really actual way of properly measuring it. We just know that this is happening. And another thing that is coming to a regulation of the hormones, and therefore also regulation by the nervous system, which is the main boss. How and in what conditions you eat your food will be extremely determining how well you digest. So just because you eat something, that doesn't mean it's properly digested in your gut, in your stomach, and it's not necessarily properly processed, or at least it's not processed same way every time you eat it. Now I'll give you two examples. Let's say we have Joe. Joe had an amazing day at work. It's a random Monday. He had amazing day at work. Everything was going really well. He is meeting all the deadlines. On the way home, he got a lot of sunshine. He was singing to his music in the car. He comes home and he has a nice dinner with his wife, who prepared dinner with love for him. and they just have a nice conversation, they enjoy it, and they are really nicely socializing through that meal. Now, Joe, another week, is also going home, but everything went opposite way. He didn't have a nice day. It was everything all really rushed, really crappy. On the way to the car from the office, he got soaked completely because there was a blizzard outside. Now he's all wet, shaky. He comes home and his wife tells him that dinner's ready. However, the roof is also leaking and she was telling him to fix it for the last half a year. So now he just grabs the same food she had on the previous example. He grabs that food and only shoves it into his stomach as he is trying to fix the roof and stop the leak. Do you think that these two meals, even though they were calories the same, it was the same steak, it was the same vegetable, it was the same potatoes, it was the exact same meal, do you think that he will digest it the same way? There is no way that if we are staying in our survival, sympathetic, fight or flight mode where we are just struggling, we are angry, and we don't even maybe feel like eating, but we force it because we know we have to, for example, for the gains in the gym or whatever other reason, that digestion is going to be compromised. It's completely different experience to a flow state in your parasympathetic nervous system, resting, digesting, socializing, having a nice time, enjoying it. So there is very many factors that we need to consider when it comes to food, nutrition, and the nervous system impact is a big one. Now, if you will pay attention to what conditions you are actually getting your meals in, you will pay attention to, and you will try to make some effort to actually be more chilled and more relaxed as you are eating, your digestion will improve. First of all, you will actually not waste some food that will just go through you, but at the same time, it will actually improve your health because you are not going to be digesting in proper neural state, because we are not meant to digest and to process food, the activation of the sympathetic nervous system. If you have any questions, ask in the comments or text me or email me. And if you have any suggestions for next topic that I can bring to you, just let me know.